where do you start? You can't spread all your effort. You don't go anywhere doing that. You've got to focus in on something. You have to. You might focus in on the wrong thing, in which case you've got to have a go at something else. But you've got to look at it. So we looked at all of these markets and we made a guesstimate of the market size. And we thought, well, which ones do we go for? So, big techies, we developed some software and we developed the design space. So we looked at a number of different applications and said, how do they compare to each other? And this chart shows speed and torque, and the circles show the size of the machine that we'd have to make to address that particular market. Okay, so there's wind in there, there's rail, there's aerospace, there's automotive, and they're all different markets, different machines that we could generate for it. So what we did was we grouped them. We said, well, there seems to be a group of big things, and by big I mean it could be anything from like a metre diameter, you know, big electrical machine, up to maybe 3, 4, 5, even 6 metres in diameter, some stuff we're looking at. And then there's a set of smaller machines that could be something you could actually think about lifting up or whatever. So you thought, well, let's do one, we don't know what to go for. It's early days, first 6 months of the company. We'll try and develop something big and try and develop something small. Just hedge our bets a bit. So we went for large wind turbines, because it was a really popular market at the time, and we went for electric vehicles and thought about signing electric motors for electric vehicles, because that's the future, yeah? And both of those have got lots of grants available. We went about them in slightly different ways. In wind, and this is how things can change. So to get into the wind sector, we thought, well, we've got to build a big something or other, and we've got to do it with partners, and we need a lot of evidence in order to be able to get there. So I actually went out and raised about £500,000 to do that. And we developed a huge marketing case, did loads and loads of modelling and design work, and then did a dog and pony show. So basically, we took all of our research results around virtually every major wind turbine company in the world. And they were really interested. They could see that we could solve a lot of their problems. Well, the biggest problem with wind turbines is gearbox failures. It's really expensive, and they lose production. And we could scale more. We could go to much bigger powers with our technology, and it was looking really good. And this was around about 2008. And you know what happened around sort of 2008? Huge financial crash. The people who buy wind turbines couldn't raise, the developers of wind farms couldn't raise finance. They couldn't raise finance, so they couldn't buy wind turbines. The wind turbine companies couldn't sell wind turbines, so they had no revenue coming in. So what do they do in that situation? They cut all R&D back to essential things. And so basically, we got thrown out in our ear from having very positive. It happened right in the middle of our pitching. So we basically lost our shirts on that. I blew £500,000 in about 4 months. Good. Maybe about 5 months. We were slightly more successful on the hybrid electric vehicle front because we actually managed to get loads and loads of grants for that. It's like I had some contacts in the industry and we got lots of traction. So on the first one, we lost our shirts on. We started earning good income from the second one. We managed to sell loads of development contracts. And we had to think about wind, and we actually managed to sell concept to the military for marine propulsion. And so they took up some of our ideas, and we slowly started to get income from that. Because we'd gone for this approach of going for one market but knowing there was something adjacent to it that wanted something similar, we were able to have that sort of fallback position. And it's always good to think about what could go wrong. So going forwards, these are the markets which magnomatics is currently addressing now. Bizarrely, they went through a huge amount of income from the defence sector on this marine propulsion. Now back into wind, we've got some good sponsorship with large wind companies, and we're developing a very big wind generator at the moment. But also we've managed to do a major deal with a manufacturer of systems for marine propulsion, electric systems for marine, because marine's going hybrid in the same way that cars are going hybrid, in the same way that planes are going hybrid, in the same way that rail's always been hybrid, for a long time it has been. So everything's going the same way. So we're basically in marine and wind now. We've got some cracking products that are doing some really interesting things in the hybrid vehicle space, and we're going to have some stuff going onto vehicle in a few years' time. We're developing aerospace actuation for a variety of different planes, and we're now developing we've turned that motor into something we use for rail traction as well. So we're working with a major company on that. So the technology is actually very, very similar, but we're working in lots of different markets of slightly different sizes, and we're hedging their bets. So we survived, actually, when we had the financial crash and it all went terrible, we actually doubled in size in that period. Did really well, and very innovative companies often do. You'll find when times are hard, if you're very innovative, it's an opportunity. The big staid companies sit back and they keep seeing the profits gradually coming in, they do incremental growth, and then when there's a huge discord in the market, something goes horribly wrong, they don't know how to react. Whereas if you're fighting for your life all the time as a very small company, being very entrepreneurial, that happens every day. It's just another little hurdle that's been thrown at you, and you're better able to overcome it. And because others aren't, it means you're more attractive. So it's worth bearing in mind. The market shouldn't affect that much a really innovative company if you're thinking innovatively all the time. So this is what the company has at the moment. So the magnetic gear itself, just the raw magnetic gear, the thing that had one test on it, one paper, then thrown into a corner of the laboratory, has now been developed into something that looks nothing like it, but it is actually a magnetic gear. And this is used down well for pumping oil. When a gas well or an oil well is almost depleted and it hasn't got enough pressure to send the oil up itself, this goes down, it's connected to a small motor. They could be several meters long, these things. It's about 2 kilometers down, and it pumps oil really efficiently. And it's very, very robust because the magnetic gear can't be damaged. It's not like gear teeth. If you put too much force from it, hits a hard lump of rock, it will just slip, the magnets will slide past each other, and then it will re-engage, and there's no damage done, it protects the system. So that's in production now. It's quite a niche area, but there's several being installed in California, in Bakersfield now. The motor is small ones. Say we developed it for automotive. Actually, it turned out the electric motor was no good for automotive. It had the wrong characteristics. We didn't know it at the time, but it didn't. So it's gone into rail, and we're developing large rail traction motors. But we've also gone big. That machine was our first prototype. We had to buy a whole new unit to develop that machine in. That's about 1.5 meters in diameter. That's our first prototype of the large machine. It cost about, about £1 million to make it, all of which we managed to get funded. And that's being developed for wind turbine generations and for marine propulsion. And then we developed this whole new product called a variable magnetic gear. And the mechanical equivalent you find in a hybrid electric vehicle. You find it in the Prius, you find it in the new Ford Mondeo, the Ford Fusion, Z-Max, etc., Lexus. And we've developed a magnetic equivalent that is more efficient, etc. And that is going to go into vehicles very shortly. We're working with a large Swedish manufacturer, we're working with a very, very large German OEM now, and their future hybrid vehicles will be based around this product, we hope. So that's done really, really well. And all this was developed in the company long after the universities, it was spun out of the university. So right now, Magnomatics is an established company. It's got many proven technologies. It's got over 20 patents. Patent bill, I left a year ago. The patent bill when I left was around about £120,000 a year. Which is, it's a chunk of cash, £10,000 a month being spent on intellectual property, which is why I say, and a lot of that was because the early patents weren't very good, and we had to draft a whole load more to tighten them up. And we now work with one of the top 5 patent attorneys in the country, because we've worked out that's the way forwards. There's about 30 hand-picked people in that company. We were incredibly careful about who we hired. There's many people we interviewed multiple times. They had fantastic skills, fantastic connections, lots of industry experience, but they just were the wrong people. they didn't work, they didn't have our outlook, and we didn't like them, so we didn't hire them. And one guy I spent over £15,000 on in the interview process because we had to fly him over a few times. But he was just wrong, so we just walked away from it. It's so important getting your core team, especially for a small company. You can't hide a bad egg. I'll show you some figures in a bit. We've got lots of revenue coming in from big multinationals. We've won huge numbers of grants. I'm going to show you some numbers. And we've negotiated some very important strategic partnerships. If you've got a lot of IP and you're a small company, you probably can't afford to defend that intellectual property. So, and if you're trying to enter lots of big markets, you've got to start partnering with people. You've got to start making some very powerful friends. And how good you are at doing that can often affect your success. So most companies, at some point, if they're growing really well, will need to do some sort of partnering. And partnering can be a very loose term. It can be many, many different things. It could be a key supplier-customer relationship. It could be someone who's jointly helping you market your product in a particular territory. It could be someone who's got a technology which is aligned to yours, and it benefits both of you if you work together. You know, so working out these arrangements can be really, really beneficial. And sometimes it's good ideas to find out who's a good operator who you respect in a market you want to enter, and seeing if you can help each other out. And you offer them innovation, they'll offer you security in the route to market. Of course, it's dangerous as well. You've got to be very careful who you choose. We did quite a lot of cross-licensing of patents. So I bought patents of other people that we needed. I sold some patents. I did deals with patents. So we'll let you use ours in this area, but if you let us use yours in this area. Big companies do this all the time, and it's really important. So to make sure that you come out with being able to access the market with good protection and no likelihood of someone coming back and having a litigation action against you for doing it. And where the business is now, we've got some stuff in production, but we're still developing really high value products for OEMs that will probably go into customers' end products. Probably in a few years' time. But the value of the company is going up all the time. So this was our team just before I left. This is the chap I handed over to. So I did do some succession planning. He was my business development manager, hugely experienced CEO. He was with me for 18 years. I passed over all my contacts. I took him all around the world, meeting the customers that I've been dealing with. I taught him all the books, how the business works. And then when the time came for me to want to move on to something else, he just stepped straight in, and I was able to get out and keep all of my stock in the company and know the company's going to continue to grow in the right way. And it is, and I'm really pleased with it. So you can see here, this is the timeline. So 2000 they invented the magnetic gear. So 15 years ago. They invented the motor. 4 years. It took 4 years to move from the gear to the motor, and nothing happened. You know, there was no work, no development done at all. It was just eventually sort of had another bright idea, but I'll get another paper out of this. You see, it's quite slow. I discovered the technology in 2005. It took me a year to extract it from the university and to spin it out, and to raise the money and everything else. So 2006. A year later, we kept all this fantastic team on board. We came up with a new idea, and then I grew the company for about 8 years, and then I exited in 2014. And I think the company will probably sell in about 3-4 years' time, would be my guess. So just an idea, this is 2014. I don't know what's happened since. I know they haven't need to raise any more money, the company's profitable. But we pulled in about £6 million from customers, which is pretty good for a high-tech company, because then we didn't have a product to sell. We were selling our services and being smart. I pulled in £5.5 million from the city, and we raised, by that point, about £1.5 million in grant. So that's not a bad ratio. You'll see a lot of companies will be almost all grant, or almost all grant and investment. It's good if you've got a mix of income coming in. It hedges your bets a bit. The team of 24 engineers, plus we seconded the academic who came up with the bright idea. Out of the 30 people, it's heavily engineering based. We had a lot of brain power in the company. Our salary deal was really high. but the people are the people who create the value in your business. So you need as good as you can get. And we weren't scared about getting the right people, taking a long time over it, and encouraging people to go. We've made mistakes, because you do make mistakes, but you've got to create that culture. We had a board, we had VC, so we had a board. I kept changing it all the time. The weird thing about board is the board can sack the CEO, but the CEO can sack the board as well. So it's one of those strain, you've got to work out who's holding power at certain points and how you do it. But I regularly updated people on my board to keep them current, to make sure we're getting good ideas. We ended up getting number 2 in Rolls-Royce. Joined us as our chairman, as a non-exec. Now the company's got 2 execs which come from investors who've got quite a lot of money in the company, and there's only one person from the company who sits on the board. So we don't control the company. The investors control the company now. So that changed about 3 years ago. Up to that point, we controlled it, the investors and minority stakeholders. Certainly in terms of board decisions. So the CEO's got power, but he's only got so much power. But everyone wants the same output. Everyone wants to create a big, successful company that's got a lot of value to it. So as long as you're aligned and you choose your investors very, very carefully, the wrong investor can be a nightmare. I've seen some terrible, terrible things in other companies. You've got to choose who you're going to work with. Like my friend in my dry cleaning business, nice guy, wrong person to be in business with. You've got to take a lot of care over that. And you just see an idea of how the shares progressed. So back in 2010, we hadn't raised much money. The management still owned 41% of the biz. We changed our investor here. We said we were White Rose. We went to Finance Yorkshire. Now, the management only owns 12% of the business. Everything else owned by investors. Which is why you've got, but the business is worth a lot of money. So that 12% of the company is probably worth 25 million at the moment, and probably will exit for a lot more than that. So that's not so bad. But if we'd have raised money, too much money too early, that 12% would be 1%. And then you're getting nothing back, and it's not worth it. So you've got to be smart how you do this. So just, how much time have I got?
5 minutes. I just
5 minutes, right.
I just see platform Henderson's outside.
I just want to talk a lot about why people are important. I went on I'm always going on these little courses when I see something interesting, if I have stuff in the time. I went to one quite recently, and I thought I'd share some key takeaways from this. Is one of the top guys in business culture gave a talk in London, came from the States. I thought it was really, I didn't realise it. I knew it's important, and I've always created a good culture, but I didn't realise how important it was. So, you want to have engaged employees, okay? So engaged employees trust who they work for, i.e. they respect whoever's leading them, their line manager or their CEO, whatever it is. They trust them. There's a lot of people out there who fear them. You don't want that. They care about what they do. They take pride in it. Yeah, they give a damn. They're not going to just put something in a box that's good enough. You know, they're going to take a lot of care of it. And they like going to work. They enjoy the people they work with. They don't have someone they don't want to meet in the corridor. They don't want to get stuck with by the water cooler or the coffee machine or whatever. Yeah, they like going to work. It's like being with their friends. And they work in an open environment. Yeah? Where and I don't mean open as it's an open plan office, or they could well. I mean that the information's open. You know how well the company's doing. You know what your colleagues are up to. The more open you can make it within legal limits, there's some things you can't have open. But the more open you can make it, the more trust you get, and the more involved all your employees feel, and the more successful the company will be. So, and this is how. So this is from Gallup. This is a recent. I think this is like 2013 or something. I'm not quite sure the date, but it's recent. So, if you've got high engagement, so this is comparing high engagement companies with low employee engagement companies. The higher ones, these are UK figures as well, got 10% higher customer ratings. Their profitability is 22% higher. That's massive. Their productivity is 21% higher. And their earnings, so this is like net profit over, say, a quarter of the year, 147% higher in companies with engaged employees as opposed to non-engaged employees. Yeah, that's probably more effective than anything else you can do in your business. And you've got lower staff turnover, you've got less accidents in the workplace, less health and safety issues, and you've got much lower quality defects. And it all comes back to this thing about the guy gives it, or the woman gives a damn. Yeah, and take care over what they do. So how do you get there? So you see that this is a good thing to do.